not pray for an easy life, pray for the strength to endure a difficult one. Namaskar, welcome to Next IS. I hope you are doing well. In this video, we will cover major headlines of the Hindu, Indian Express, and Press Information Bureau. So, without wasting any time, let's start today's discussion. Now, recently, Union Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation dissolved a 14-member standing committee on statistics due to overlapping responsibilities with the new steering committee for national sample surveys. The standing committee on statistics was responsible for advising on survey methodology, tabulation plans, and addressing issues related to surveys and data collection. The newly formed steering committee, which includes the members from dissolved committee, will assume similar responsibilities such as reviewing survey methodologies and finalizing survey plans, but with a slightly different composition and a 2-year tenure. And friends, India's decennial census has been conducted every 10 years since the 1870s. The last census was in 2011 and the 2021 census was delayed due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and there is a pressure for a new census which is intensified due to demands for updated data to inform policies and social schemes such as National Food Security Act. Critics argue that delay in the census hampers accurate policy making and challenges in the data on employment and other critical areas. Next article talks about cholera because number of cholera cases and deaths has increased significantly. In 2023, there was 17% rise in deaths and a 13% increase in cases compared to 2022. Talking about cholera, it is an acute diarrheal infection caused by ingestion of food or water contaminated with the bacterium Vibrio cholerae. Cholera remains a global threat to public health and indicator of inequity and lack of social development. It can cause severe diarrhea, vomiting, and weakness. People with low immunity, such as malnourished children and people living with HIV/AIDS, are at greater risk of death. There is severe shortage of cholera vaccines, and in this context, Global Task Force for Cholera Control developed a global roadmap for ending cholera by 2030, focusing on multi-sectoral interventions, disease surveillance, and increased local vaccine production. Still, addressing cholera effectively will depend on substantial investment in water, sanitation, and hygiene infrastructure, and acknowledging and mitigating the impacts of climate change. Now, recently, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar visited the replica of the East Gate of the Great Stupa of Sanchi, which is displayed in front of the Humboldt Forum Museum in Berlin. Talking about Great Stupa of Sanchi, it was built by Emperor Ashoka in 3rd century BC, and it is a major Buddhist site. It is one of the oldest stone structures in India, housing relics of Buddha. The site features well-preserved stupas, temples, and monasteries. Now, recently, 127th anniversary of Battle of Saragadhi was observed. On this day, 21 soldiers held down the fort against 8,000 Orakzai and Afridi tribal militants. The battle was led by Havaldar Ishar Singh, who, despite knowing their likely fate, showed exceptional bravery because Saragadhi was crucial communication tower linking Fort Lokhat and Fort Gulistan in the northwestern frontier province. And friends, Queen Victoria awarded the 21 soldiers posthumously with the Indian Order of Merit, and British built a memorial with burnt bricks from Saragadhi. Now, Indian Army contingent departed for the 5th edition of India-Oman Joint Military Exercise Al-Najah. It has been held biennially since 2015, alternating between India and Oman. Last edition of the same exercise was conducted in Rajasthan. It aims to enhance joint military capabilities for counter-terrorism operation under Chapter 7 of the United Nations Charter, with focus on desert environment operations. The exercise will include joint planning, cordon and search operations, fighting in built-up areas, establishment of mobile vehicle checkpost, counter-drone operations. Next article talks about Maritime State Development Council, which is an apex advisory body constituted in May 1997 for the development of maritime sector to ensure integrated development of major and other than major ports. It is chaired by the Union Minister of Ports, Shipping and Waterways. And friends, India has 12 major ports under the central government's jurisdiction, namely Chennai, Cochin, Deen Dayal, Jawaharlal Nehru, Kolkata, Murmugao, Mumbai, New Mangalore, Paradeep, Tuticorin, Visakhapatnam, and Kamarajar Port Limited. Now, recently, Prime Minister of India announced adoption of Delhi Declaration on Civil Aviation. The declaration aims to enhance regional cooperation, address emerging challenges, foster sustainable growth in civil aviation sector across Asia-Pacific region. Now, India and China have agreed to work with urgency and redouble their efforts to achieve complete disengagement in the remaining areas along line of actual control, which is a demarcation that separates Indian controlled territory from Chinese controlled territory. India considered the LAC to be 3,488 km long, while Chinese considered it to be only 2,000 km. It is divided in three sectors. Here first is Eastern sector, which spans Arunachal Pradesh and Sikkim. Next is Middle sector, which lies in Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh. Last is Western sector, which is in Ladakh. And do you know, friends, since May 2020, when Chinese troops tried to aggressively change the status quo on LAC in Eastern Ladakh, both sides have been deployed in forward positions near patrolling point 15, which emerged as a friction point in wake of Galwan clash. Over 50,000 Indian soldiers have been stationed since 2020 along the LAC with advanced weapons to prevent any attempts to change the status quo unilaterally on the LAC. Now, United Nations observed International Day of South-South Cooperation, which commemorates the adoption of the Buenos Aires Plan of Action in 1978, which promotes technical cooperation among developing countries. South-South cooperation is the manifestation of solidarity among peoples and countries of South that contributes to their national well-being, their national and collective self-reliance, and the attainment of internationally agreed sustainable development goals, including 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. And this year theme is A Better Tomorrow through South-South Cooperation. So with this, let's conclude today's discussion. Thanks for listening, and for regular updates, you can follow us on various social media platforms.